incredible sense of kind of momentum in a very positive way, kind of like, you know how like when a snowball rolls down a mountain and it gets bigger and bigger and faster. Well, that was kind of the way that Sandy's learning and productivity unfolded during the program. It's like the first year was for her, I know, excruciatingly slow, with what probably to the outside observer would look like a whole number of unproductive false starts. That, you know, a little bit toward here and a little bit toward there, but none of it would really go much of anywhere to any big, obvious completion. She did not get, she got a little frustrated like anybody would, but she didn't get enormously frustrated. Myself and the others that were working with her, we didn't get particularly frustrated, but we wanted to be supportive and kind of help things along. And all of a sudden, or not maybe all of a sudden, but somehow, was she in the program? It's on the transcript. Was she in the program about 4 years, probably? What's it say for the ending date was May 2007. There's a place here that says admitted.
Admitted. 2003.
Yeah, so just about
January.
yeah, so just a little bit over 4 years. So year 2, she started doing a little bit of a project here and there, but it was still kind of slow. But stuff started to take shape. And year 3. There was genocide coming out, a couple of genocide papers, and the Choctaw Mosaic, and the this and the that, and all of these things. And then by the time that she was doing the dissertation, it was like, you know, she was just, you know, really moving, and not just being fast, but just the intensity and the depth and complexity of what she was producing just, you know, became phenomenal. So it was very special experience for me to be able to be a participant in the process that she was leading the way with, in terms of the way that all that took off. It was just really great.
Yeah, I was gonna say, she had a lot of issues, and it took, you know, there would be days where she just couldn't do anything because the issues would just bog her down. So that when she started working, once she started working, it, you know, it was kind of hard to get her to stop. So it was just a matter of getting her started, really. But I know that to her that it was worth it. So that's what I was gonna just.
You know, we've been rattling on. Why don't you introduce yourself and we can tell you who we are.
I wanted to say something just about how we all met.
Go ahead.
Okay, this is Colleen Foley, and she can introduce herself at some point
later.
too. But I, with Colleen's help, introduced Sandy to Wiser. I've been involved in Native American support work off and on for a few decades, and I was a part of the committee for the 500 Years Resistance in 1992, and the Berkeley Committee I was part of. And in 2002, I had this idea. I mean, I usually am more effective with organizing as far as, you know, working with Indian people, but I kind of went on my own with this, and I thought, hey, why don't we go to Intertribal Friendship House and tell people about what happened in 1992. Well, I was there, and Colleen gave me a ride, and I gave a little. I had all this paper I hadn't thrown out, and I, you know, gave a little presentation, and with Colleen's help, and she was. I met Colleen with the Indigenous Peoples Day Committee, and then it was time to go home. There were a few people there. They were politely listened, and it was time to go home, and that's when we met Sandy, and she needed a ride home. And I told her about Wiser on the way, and she gave her a ride all the way home. She lives in Berkeley, and Colleen's part Native American. You can explain what,
Yeah.
but and then it took her a while. She didn't decide right away if she should start or not. But we do have her on video from the graduation. I should get you guys a copy of that at some point, where she talked about. You know, why she went to Wiser was because she was allowed to write about genocide and things that she couldn't write about at Stanford or UC Berkeley. They didn't want her there. So, I wasn't on her committee. I haven't read this, but I have a copy and intend to read it at some point. But, so that's all I'll say for right now. But why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Colleen Foley, and I grew up in Salt Lake City, but my mother is Lakota. She was born on Pine Ridge in South Dakota, and but so I have a lot of, I go from, I want to celebrate this heritage, I want to celebrate this heritage, so I go, and I worked on the 10-year anniversary committee for the longest walk a long time ago, but then I sort of got out of it and I was doing more of other things, and we met on the Indigenous Peoples Day, so I decided to join that for a while, and then we went to, and we were there to tell them, we went there that day, because I've been there several times, we went there just to talk about so we went there to talk about, and then I met Sandra there, and we offered her to give her a ride home, and it was like, sometimes you feel sort of crowded in Berkeley. I don't know if you're from a more rural area, you feel sort of crowded here from time to time.
I'm from San Jose and I feel crowded here.
So I thought, oh no, so I gave Marilyn a ride home, and then she says, well, you can just leave me off at this bar station. She says, oh no, it was like 10 or 11. And I thought, I'll just give you a ride all the way home. So I gave her a ride all the way home. And she said, oh, gosh, I can't believe you did this for me. She was so nice. And then she talked about it. And then I remember her telling me that school was important. And so she invited me in thinking that I was so nice. And I didn't think, well, I just gave you a ride home. And I could see why. Because it smells. I don't know if she still lives in the same apartment building. Yeah. But it smelled like outside, like the prairie sort of more than Berkeley does.
That's because she has so many plants.
Yeah. Well, that's right. So she gave me some plant starters.
Yes.
So because she thought I'd been so nice. And actually, I managed to kill 2, but I still have a violet.
Oh.
And I have it at work, and she put moss. She told me how to put moss. So every time that's something that a rainforest plant. I put moss on the top. So I still have the violet.